There are some battles you never think you'll have to fight. And then there's the one I had with my mother-in-law, Eleanor, a battle that lasted for months, threatened our peace, and nearly pushed us to our breaking point. For a long time, it felt like I was just drowning in her drama, but now? Now, there's a quiet. A fragile peace, hard one, but it's here. And it only came after she tried to use the legal system to get her way. It all started when my husband, Liam, and I found out I was pregnant. It was truly the best news ever. My parents, Diane and Robert, were over the moon, just ecstatic. They've always been so supportive, so loving, and I knew they'd be amazing grandparents. Eleanor, Liam's mom, well, her reaction was different. She was excited, yes, but everything always had to circle back to her. See, Eleanor and my parents never quite clicked. From day one, there was this tension, mostly because of Eleanor's superiority complex. She always seemed to look down on them, acting like she was above them in every single way. Whether it was how we were raised, our lifestyle choices, even silly little holiday traditions, she'd always make these passive-aggressive comments about how she raised Liam right, implying my parents were just too relaxed. My mom, Diane, being the straightforward person she is, never tolerated it. She'd call Eleanor out. My dad, Robert, usually just ignored her, which I think only fueled Eleanor's resentment. She genuinely believed she was the most important influence in Liam's life and saw my parents as obstacles. Their dislike was mutual and very, very clear. A few months into my pregnancy, Liam started dropping hints about his mom planning a baby shower. This was news to me. She hadn't said a word directly. I figured maybe it was early stages, and she'd talk to me eventually. But as time went on, it hit me that she'd already made a ton of decisions without even asking for my input. I finally got confirmation when I overheard her on the phone, excitedly talking about the baby shower she was throwing and how it was going to be a celebration for the family. When I finally asked her about it, she acted like it was a done deal. Venue, theme, guest list, all decided. And I hadn't been consulted about a single thing. The real problem hit when I found out my parents weren't on the guest list. I was so confused, I just assumed it was an oversight. So I asked Eleanor, and she simply said she hadn't invited them because this is a celebration for my family. She actually said she didn't think my parents needed to be there because they'll have plenty of time with the baby after he's born. I was absolutely stunned. This was my first baby, my pregnancy, my experience. And she had taken over everything, then excluded my own parents. I told her straight up, if my parents weren't welcome, then I wasn't interested in attending either. She was shocked. She accused me of being selfish. According to her, I should have been grateful for all her hard work. She said it wasn't about me, it was about the baby and the family, meaning her family. Liam tried to talk to her, but she was completely dug in. She even doubled down, saying she didn't want any outsiders there. That was insane to me, because my parents are not outsiders. They're just as much a part of this baby's life as she is. But Eleanor wouldn't budge. She made it crystal clear she felt entitled to make these decisions because it was her grandchild. At that point, I decided I wasn't going to fight about it anymore. If she wanted to throw a party for herself and her side of the family, fine. But I wasn't going to be part of it. So, I planned my own baby shower. My best friend helped me put everything together, and we made sure to invite the people who actually supported me, my parents, close friends, and family who genuinely cared. It was exactly the kind of celebration I had wanted. When Eleanor found out, she was furious. She accused me of disrespecting her, of being petty for not inviting her. She claimed I had deliberately excluded her to hurt her feelings. I calmly reminded her that she was the one who set the precedent by excluding my parents. She had made it clear she wanted her celebration to be just for her side of the family. So, I respected her wishes and had my own event with my side of the family and friends. She just refused to accept any responsibility and played the victim. She told everyone I had shut her out, twisting the story to make herself the wronged party. She even told Liam that I was trying to keep her grandchild away from her, which was utterly ridiculous. Eleanor kept pushing, bringing it up to family members, always trying to be the center of attention. She even sent me a long email about how heartbroken she was to be treated like an outsider when all she wanted was to celebrate her grandchild. Of course, she conveniently left out the part about excluding my parents first. I didn't bother responding. I knew it wouldn't change anything. She was stuck in her own narrative. Liam stood by me, thankfully, telling her she'd brought this on herself. She didn't take that well either, telling him I was controlling him. At one point, she actually said she had more rights to be in the baby's life than my parents because she was the paternal grandmother. It was absurd. I started getting messages from extended family, some siding with Eleanor, others with me. I ignored most of them. The whole thing was exhausting. I just wanted to enjoy my pregnancy. Even after the baby shower happened, Eleanor didn't let it go. She kept bringing it up, making passive-aggressive comments. She even tried to guilt-trip Liam into throwing another party that included her this time. When that didn't work, she started complaining that I was cutting her out. She had no self-awareness. She made the decision to exclude my parents, which led me to plan my own shower, and yet she played the victim. She continued to call Liam regularly, sent me passive-aggressive messages, and reached out to mutual family members, hoping they'd pressure me. I made it clear I was simply respecting her wishes. She didn't want my parents at her shower, so I planned one that included them. It was that simple. Her behavior only got worse. She started inserting herself into every aspect of my pregnancy. She wanted details of doctor's appointments, insisted on helping with the nursery even though I didn't want her input, and even started making comments about being the first to meet the baby. I had a growing sense of dread about how she'd behave once the baby arrived. The last few weeks of pregnancy were a nightmare. She showed up at our house constantly, refusing to respect our boundaries. Calls and texts multiple times a day, demanding updates. When we tried to set rules, she acted like we were being unfair. Liam tried to talk to her, but she wouldn't listen. She refused to see that she was the problem. To her, I was the villain who had stolen her grandmother experience. She acted entitled to be part of every moment. It became impossible to have a normal conversation. Everything turned into a fight. I started dreading every interaction. She had a way of making me feel guilty, even though I knew I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just trying to protect my peace and ensure my baby was surrounded by love, not drama. But to Eleanor, that meant I was the enemy. After weeks of relentless drama, things finally reached a breaking point. We decided we couldn't keep living like this. Liam and I drafted a formal message to Eleanor. It was simple, to the point, clear boundaries. No unannounced visits. No guilt-tripping. No social media posts about us or the baby. No involving extended family to pressure us. If she couldn't respect these boundaries, we wouldn't be engaging with her anymore. It was a take-it-or-leave-it situation. We sent the message and braced for impact. It didn't take long. She exploded. Message after message, each one angrier. First, selfish. Then, I turned Liam against her. She insisted she'd done nothing wrong, that she was being unfairly punished for wanting to be a loving grandmother. Then came the guilt trips. All she'd done for Liam. How her own son was betraying her. How she didn't deserve to be treated like a stranger. When we didn't reply, she moved to phase 2, playing the victim to the rest of the family. Messages poured in from relatives. Some scolding us, others asking what was going on. Liam's aunts, always in Eleanor's corner, sent long-winded messages about family and compromise. Others, those who knew Eleanor, told us to stand our ground. Then came the post. A long, dramatic essay about how some people, clearly us, had forgotten the meaning of family and were keeping her from her precious grandchild. She painted herself as the doting grandmother cruelly denied the chance to bond. The post was full of emotional lines about a mother's love never fading, even when her children turn away. The comment section was a mess. Some rallied behind her, others were skeptical, asking why she wasn't allowed to see the baby if she'd truly done nothing wrong. A few even called her out, reminding her that grandparents don't have automatic rights. I wanted to ignore it, but seeing so many people blindly side with her infuriated me. The idea that I was being painted as the villain after everything she'd put us through made my blood boil. But I refused to engage. She wanted a reaction, and I wasn't going to give her one. Then the next escalation came. She contacted my parents, Diane and Robert, trying to convince them to talk some sense into me. She told them she was worried about my mental state and claimed I was making rash, emotional decisions. It was another attempt to frame me as unreasonable. Luckily, my parents saw right through it. My mom told her, in no uncertain terms, that I was doing just fine and Eleanor needed to respect my choices as a mother. My dad, who had absolutely lost patience with her, told her to drop the act. They didn't entertain her pity party. But she wasn't done yet. Since the messages and guilt trips weren't working, she decided to push her luck with one final stunt, showing up at our house again. One afternoon, I noticed a car parked down the street. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but when I took a closer look, it was Eleanor's. She wasn't coming to the door. She was just sitting there, watching. I felt sick. It was disturbing to know she was literally lurking outside our house, waiting for what exactly? For us to let her in? For me to break down and invite her to see the baby? I had no idea. I told Liam, and he immediately went outside to confront her. I stayed inside, holding the baby, my heart pounding. They talked for a while. I could see Eleanor crying, gesturing wildly like she was pleading her case. Liam didn't budge. Eventually, she drove off. I knew this wasn't over. Later that night, Liam told me what she'd said. She still refused to admit she'd done anything wrong. Instead, she doubled down, saying she was forced to resort to these measures because we were shutting her out and she had no other choice. She tried to guilt-trip him again, saying she just wanted to be part of our lives. Liam told her in clear terms that this behavior was unacceptable. He warned her that if she continued, she would be completely cut off, not just from me, but from him and the baby as well. This wasn't just about boundaries anymore. It was about respect, and she had shown none. For once, she had nothing to say. And then silence. No calls. No texts. No unexpected visits. No more posts. At first, I thought she was just regrouping, planning her next move. But as days turned into weeks, the silence remained. I didn't trust it. I kept expecting another wave of drama, but it never came. Weirdly enough, I didn't feel relieved. I felt suspicious. I'd spent so much time dealing with her antics that it was hard to believe she had finally given up. But then Liam heard from one of his cousins that Eleanor had moved on to a new narrative. Now, she wasn't just a victim of cruel, ungrateful children. No, she had turned the whole situation into a personal tragedy, one where she was a heartbroken grandmother who had no choice but to distance herself because she was so deeply hurt. I didn't care. Let her say whatever she wanted. Let her play the role of the grieving grandmother to whoever would listen. As long as she stayed away from us, she could spin whatever sob story she wanted. For the first time in months, I felt peace. I don't know if this is truly the end, or if she'll find another way to worm herself back in. But right now, my focus is where it should have always been, on my baby, my family, and my own happiness. And Eleanor? She can keep playing her games, just not with us anymore. Have you ever had to draw a hard line like that with family?